leave it to Fox News to come up with a segment that is infuriating and monumentally stupid. So they're going to question Anderson Cooper's motivations on CNN as he's covering the Orlando shooting. Why? They've come up with a very clever twist. It turns out Anderson Cooper is gay, and the people who were shot were gay. So doesn't that make him biased? Which, to be fair, Fox News has always said before covering straight stories, they will not let anyone but a gay reporter report on those straight stories. Oh, no, they haven't? Oh, that's interesting. I've got a lot of bones to pick with this story. And this is in their Media Buzz segment led by Howard Kurtz, where they try to analyze whether the media has been fair. Boy, that's wonderfully ironic. All right, let's let you watch it, and I'll come back and tell you what I think.
After the break, we look at Anderson Cooper. Do gay journalists feel a special anguish over the senseless slaughter of 49 mostly gay Americans, and does that affect their coverage? CNN's Anderson Cooper, who publicly came out as gay 4 years ago, choked up as he read the names of the victims in Orlando.
There are more than a list of names. There are people who loved and were loved. There are people who had families and friends and dreams.
But Cooper also grilled Florida's Republican Attorney General Pam Bondi for having argued in court against same-sex marriage.
Look, I respect Anderson Cooper, and I think he's generally fair. But in this interview with Pam Bondi, do you think he was acting as more than just an aggressive journalist?
Yeah, he seemed like an activist, and I share your sentiments and general thoughts on Anderson Cooper. Of course, I only watch Fox all the time, but I've heard he's very good at his job. He's a versatile journalist.
But here?
In this circumstance, I thought the line of questioning for the Attorney General of Florida, under the circumstances and given the context of what had just happened in that state, it was a bizarre non sequitur, and it seemed like he was browbeating her for really unrelated political thought crimes in her past, which did not relate to the task at hand, which is roundly condemning the horrific atrocity that happened.
In other words, even if she had gone to court to argue against same-sex marriage in Florida, what did that have to do? Did that make her a bigot?
No.
Was that the underlying premise of Cooper's questioning?
It was, and I think that this is the only way that this line of questioning makes sense is if your underlying assumption is that any opposition to any form of gay rights legislation is rooted in bigotry or hatred. I happen to disagree with Pam Bondi on most of these public policy questions. I happen to be gay myself, but I don't know what's in her heart. I'm not going to assume that because she defended the state's gay marriage ban, she herself is hateful.
That's Fox News contributor Guy Benson. This is an inception of irony. It's an irony within an irony. So Fox News criticizing the rest of the media on whether they're fair brings on a gay contributor to tell us that gay contributors should not have anything to say about the Orlando shootings. Okay. Now, let's use Fox's rule on other shootings and other news events. So obviously, if you're black, you can't cover the Charleston shooting. That would be unfair. You're biased. You got a dog in that fight. Ooh, the blacks were shot at a church. You're black. You care about your fellow blacks. Obviously, you're biased. See, if you're white or you're Asian, you don't care about those blacks who were shot. Who cares? Oh, you're straight. The gay people shot. You wouldn't get emotional over that. Who cares? They're just gay, right? But if you're gay, then okay, fine. And this is the Fox mentality. I mean, if you're in my clan, I care about you. If you're not in my clan, I don't even like you, let alone care about you. So if you have a gay anchor covering a story where gay people get shot, well, obviously it's going to be biased like we're biased towards our clan. By the way, Fox News, have you eliminated all of your white anchors for covering all the white stories? How about the Charlie Hebdo shootings? That was about journalists. So are no journalists allowed to cover the shooting of journalists because they would be biased? Beginning to get a sense that this might be a preposterous standard, and one that is never used, except in this case. And what is the real motivation here? It's politics. Pam Bondi is a Republican in Florida, and Anderson Cooper asked her the most fair question of all time. You're now saying that you're a fan of the LGBT community, but you were just arguing to take away some of the rights of the LGBT community. How could you with a straight face say that you're supporting them when you were literally fighting against them legally, politically, just a minute ago? So you can claim many other things, but you can't claim that you were on their side on these legal and political matters, because you weren't. You were actively on the other side. That doesn't mean she's the shooter. Of course not. Anderson Cooper didn't suggest that. No one suggests that. But I will go much further than Anderson Cooper and say, if you are part of the culture that says gay people shouldn't have the same rights, and that gay people should have lesser rights, I mean, maybe a civil union, but probably not even that. Marriage is special for us straight Americans, and you gay people don't get to have the same rights as us. Well, I would say that you are part of a culture that creates hatred and bigotry towards gays. So don't come around pretending that you're in favor of gays when they get shot up by a guy who had hatred in his heart and bigotry against gays. That culture was created by all of religion, by the right-wing fundamentalists in this country who argue against gays all the time, say that they are lesser than us, should have less rights than other American citizens. That culture is also created by Muslim culture, religious fundamentalism that does similar propaganda. And when Muslims do it, Fox News is right there. Oh, the Muslims. You know how they are. They hate the gays. Now, right after this, we'll come back and tell you why the gays are terrible. But that's okay, because that's Christian fundamentalism, and that's wonderful, and we take their rights away, but we don't kill them. Aren't we so merciful? It appears that you're a little biased on this, Fox News. I wonder if you should cover this or any other story, because you guys are the ones who have been arguing for year after year that gay Americans should have less rights than straight Americans. So don't come to tell us that people who actually care about their fellow human beings are too biased to cover a story.